Hello guys, you're welcome to Stay with Tara, and if you're new here, you're welcome, and if you're not, you're welcome back. So today what we're talking about is allowance. I know it sounds like something that is not that important or something that everybody should know, but believe me, it's not everybody that knows the in-depth value or importance of allowance. You just feel like allowance is something you put on clothes and that's all. It's not just about that. There is more to allowance than just allowance, if that makes any sense. So let's get right into it. So if you have ever made a cloth that is too tight or uncomfortable, or maybe you needed to do some adjustments but you were not able to do it at the end of the day, you will know the importance of allowance. Allowance is such a big deal. And again, some of the problem that most clothes have is not cutting, is not drafting problem. Sometimes it is allowance problem. Do you understand? So I've made a note on allowance, like it's a full note on allowance. So what we are learning today is going to be allowance itself, the different type of allowances that we have, and common mistake you make when adding allowance to your clothes. Do you understand? So what is allowance, types of allowance, and the mistakes when adding allowance. Okay, so now let's get into it. What is allowance? Allowance is extra space added to fabric during cutting. Do you understand? So this is straightforward. It's the extra space that you add to your fabric when you are cutting it. Do you get? So what allowance does? What's the work of allowance? Okay, it helps clothes to fit comfortably on you. Even if it is a tight fitting clothes, there is ease allowance that you put in some, and it helps your clothes to fit comfortably. Two, it gives room for sewing. Do you understand? This one is the sewing allowance that you give to your clothes. It gives room for sewing. At least you cannot, let's say after you've made your division of your clothes cannot be 6 and you cut 6, you cut like 7 or 8. Maybe you want to cut your bust, and after your division your measurement is 6, at least you put like 1 or 2. So that is giving room for sewing. Okay, so 3, the next thing that it does is allows for adjustment if needed later. So probably after making your clothes you need to adjust. Maybe it's to, the armpit needs adjustment, or the hand, or anywhere that needs adjustment. Allowance gives you room to make adjustment that your clothes needs. Okay, so without allowance, your clothes may fit too tightly or difficult to wear. That difficult to wear is where you do not put ease allowance in your clothes. It might be difficult to wear. Think of it as a breathing space for your clothes. Do you understand? Okay, so types of allowance. We have seam allowance. What is seam allowance? Seam allowance is the extra fabric added for joining pieces together during sewing. E.g., maybe you want to cut your clothes and the bust is like 10, the waist is 8 and all of that inches, and when you are drafting, normally you draft, you mark 8, and after that you mark like 2 or 1. So that extra one that you put is sewing allowance. Okay, so note that sewing allowance is added during cutting and not during measurement. Sure, you get that point. That one is you that will decide when you are cutting that this is what I want to use for my sewing allowance. It's not what you add when you are measuring your client. Okay, number 2, we have ease allowance or movement allowance. This is added so that the body can sit, walk, breathe, and move around comfortably. Do you understand? So this one is what most people call ease allowance. Maybe sometimes when you want to measure, you say you put one finger inside the ball so that there will be ease. You put 2 fingers at somewhere so that there will be ease. When you are measuring the thigh, you put so many fingers so that there will. So that one is ease allowance, and I think that's the like traditional way of putting it, ease allowance. So different people have different ways of putting ease allowance. Some people it's just like they had 0.5 to their measurements for ease. Do you get? And it also depends on the kind of clothes you are making. Do you understand? So that is ease allowance. All right. So number 3, alteration allowance. This is extra fabric added in case of adjustment. In case if adjustment is needed later. This is useful when making clothes for your clients or children or tightly fitted clothing. Okay. So this one is just like a deliberate in case of incasity. In case of incasity type of allowance that you put in your clothes. so that maybe when the client wears it, it's not too tight. You know that I have one allowance that I put somewhere that I can use to adjust this. And sometimes some parents they ask this for their children that okay, let me put it inside very well so that when the child goes, you can adjust. Or maybe if it is too tight, kids they go fast. So if it's too tight, so that you can adjust it. So that is what we call alteration allowance. So now let's move to allowance mistake. Okay, the mistake people make when adding allowance. Okay, so number one mistake is excess allowance. Yes, there is excess allowance. Some people sometimes, I think I've read someone that said they put 3 inches sewing allowance in their clothes. It will distort, like the clothes will not relax. It will not relax. Like me, I used to say, if you're a beginner, at least put 2 inches allowance for beginners so that you make room for mistakes. And if you're not a beginner, one inch is okay for allowance. If you are not a beginner, it's okay. Some people, I have a boss, she puts 0.5 inch. She says she's not sewing clothes for you for future, so that it will fit very well. She'll put 0.5 inch, and that's it. So if that's 0.5 inch, now this is a pro. Do you understand? So if your clothes comes out tighter for her, at least for the time that I was with her, it's because you have grown fatter. It's not because she has done any mistake on her own measuring part. I believe you get that distance. So if you put too much allowance in your clothes, the clothes will not shape very well. Like I wrote here, if you put too much allowance in your clothes, it will be bulky and it will have a very poor shape and rough finishing. The finishing will have, like, if you look at like most ready to wear clothes, you see their allowance is just so that it will help their finishing. Their finishing is always neat. So okay, fine, you are doing this, but it's not necessary that you put more allowance. But at least if you want to put allowance, don't add too much allowance. If your allowance is getting to 2.53 inches, it's getting too much. It will affect the shape of your clothes. I mean, what's the point of adding plenty clothes and you have to notch it again? Do you get? Some people will add excess, like big allowance, and you still have to notch it again. If that person now wears it, those extra clothes will give it a kind of, I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Okay, so that is it. Number two, not adding allowance at all. This is even worse. And well, it is worse because if you add too much allowance, at least you can cut it out. If you don't add allowance, that one there is no remedy. Do you get? So you have to know the balance. Add allowance, but not too much allowance. Don't go about cutting your clothes without adding allowance. That one is worse. Okay, because if you don't add allowance, you take out of the measurement, the real body measurement that you want to use that is meant for the body, you take out allowance. So if it is now tight, how do you want to solve it? If you need adjustment, how do you now want to do it? Do you get? So that is why you have to put your allowance. So using the same allowance for, that's number three, using the same allowance for every clothes. As a beginner, as a pro, as anybody that is cutting clothes or making clothes, you should know that this is wrong. You cannot use the same allowance for every clothes. Do you get? There are some clothes that are stretchy, there are some clothes that are stiff. So you cannot tell me that if you want to make a stretchy clothes, you put 2 inches allowance or an inch allowance. Or there are sometimes that you don't even have to put allowance at all if you are making it stretchy clothes. And even clothes, they stretch more than each other. That's why you have to understand your fabric. So if one is very stretchy, one is not stiff, it's not stretchy that much, or is stretching, another one is stiff, you cannot tell me that it's the same allowance that you put for the three. They will have to have different allowances. Do you understand? So, and again, fitted clothes allowance is different from free clothes allowance. We cannot want to make a fitted clothes now and you put the same allowance that you want to put in a style that is already free. So these are the points that you consider, and they say that these are mistakes that people make when they are adding allowance. See, here you see now that allowance is not just allowance. There is more to allowance than to be just allowance. Okay. Point, not considering fabric type. Okay, like I said, some fabric are stretchy, some shrink, some behave differently after sewing it, and you should also consider this when you are putting allowance. Do you understand? So now, if you are working with stretchy clothes, like I said, you have to consider it. And again, I made mention of another point in this place that some clothes behave differently after sewing. Some people will not agree. But yes, after sewing some clothes, you will be wondering where all the allowances went to. I don't understand what happens. I don't know why. I don't have theory or observation for it. But you should understand your fabric. Know what you're working with. Know what's best for what you're working with at that point. Then you know the allowance that you put for that clothes at the point. So tips that helps when you're adding allowance. Do not rush when you're cutting. This is the point where you forget to put allowance. I'm rushing. You will make mistake. You now have to sit down and drink water and start reasoning how to, solve that thing that you have done. So why not just calm down, cut your clothes, very well, then you go on with sewing. Okay, so one, do not rush when cutting. Write down your measurements. This one I learned from my boss. If my boss wants to make a clothes, she first sit down, sketch. And this wasn't when sketching. This was years back, not now that people are doing fashion illustration. She will sketch roughly in a paper beside the person's measurements. She will say, okay, this point, this is the side that is here. She will analyze the whole cloth before she takes the cloth to the cutting table. And her measurement, she will divide it, add it, and then add um sewing allowance. So there's no mistake of I don't remember to put. Some of us, it's until you get to your cutting table that you now say, boss 36, let me divide that boss 36. No, you will do your measurement. You like the measurement that you need for that particular style that you are cutting. You will do it. Your estimate, what you want to add, your sewing allowance, your joining allowance. You already add it, so you know what you are doing when you get to the table. Do you understand? So next thing, double check your allowance before cutting. This one, when you sometimes it is when you are double checking, they will be like, okay, I did not sleep while I was cutting. Why is this not here? That's when you realize that okay, you have made a mistake. So double check, triple check, or triple check if there's anything like that. Check, and check again, and be sure of what you are doing before you cut. Okay. Note this one. It's not like if you have made mistake, you have made allowance mistake, that you have done something that is terrible. I don't think there's anybody that can raise up his or her hands that I've never made allowance mistake before. I doubt it. Doubt it. So it's not something that you just have to this work, you just have to keep improving and improving and improving on yourself. Okay. So I think that is all for today. And again, there is joining allowance. Joining allowance is different from his allowance. It is different. I did not write it here, but when I just remember. There is joining allowance. That one is what you use to join places like this, like the shoulder and the sleeve. Do you get that one is joining allowance? So that one should not pass 0.5. It's now big. It's big too much. It's 0.5. So that one is different from his allowance. It is different from sewing allowance. That sewing allowance is mostly by the side for adjustment. Do you understand? But joining allowance is not as much as sewing allowance. Do you get? So it's different from sewing allowance, it's different from it's different from his allowance, and it's different from alteration allowance. So we have his allowance, we have joining allowance, we have sewing allowance, and we have alteration allowance. Those are the allowances that we have. So see you in my next class. Bye.